Hello and welcome to this third video in the tutorial series on 3DS Max. This time around we're going to be learning how to convert an object to an editable poly and what we can do when it is an editable poly. Now we've been using 3DS Max for a while, let's get a bit more fancy. So we've created our object, we've given it a parameter, so let's make this a bit more even. Now, let's get a bit more fancy with this. So we're going to go and right click this time, convert to an editable poly. This changes the type of the object, so instead of it being a mesh, it is now an editable poly. This gives you much more powers over how you can manipulate this object. You can see along here in the modifier viewport that it has changed completely. Beforehand it was just a simple parameter section. Now you have stuff like selection, edit geometry, subdivision surfaces. If you pull this slider down you have paint deformation, soft selection and subdivision displacement. For now we're going to concentrate on selection and geometry and maybe a little bit of subdivision surface a bit later on. Now for selection you're thinking, well, it's already selected, what is there more to select? Well, 3D objects have more than just their object. They have verts, edges, polygons and elements, and these are how you select them. There's stuff like border, but that's just when you've deleted things and you want to cap them. So first off, you're clicking on verts, it changes what the object looks like. Now it has these small blue squares across the entire object. Correction, they should be small blue cubes. And these are the vertices of this object, so you can select on any of them. And just like an object, you can edit the position, so let's see if I can get that out to the side. You can, if you select more than one, so control clicking this time, when you select multi-objects you can control click them and you can scale it out, or you can even, if you want to really screw with the object, rotate them. So now you have a bit more control over how the object is editing. But this isn't just the only way you can do it, there's also edges. So along these white lines which I've been speaking about earlier are the edges of an object. An edge of the object is just the point where two verts connect. And these can be edited just like that, so you can pull them out, you can rotate, etc, etc. And this gives you much more powers over what you can do. So at the moment I'm selecting the actual face, the polygon of the object, and I can, self-explanatory, it does all the things that I've just said. Well, now you might be thinking, well, what can we do with this power? There's a lot of functions and tools you can use. As you can see, I've changed into edge mode and my interface has changed once again, and I can select one side, and let's do a few tricks here. So I want to select the entire of the lower edges along the outside, so I can hit loop and that selects the entire of the edges along the outside. Now I'm going to use a function called chamfer. This is like sanding down the object in a way, but it makes more polygons. So you can either hit chamfer like that, but sometimes 3ds Max has a hissy fit and doesn't let you, or you can hit the button on the side which brings up this small interface on the screen. The chamfer is smoothing the corners of an object, so I can select how many more edges I want to have in this chamfer, and I can select the amount of the chamfer I want. So I'm going to have 7.5 as the chamfer, and then once you're all happy with that, you tick it, and then that is the chamfer. It just smooths the edges of everything, so you don't just have to do it to an entire thing, you can chamfer just a single object. So there, I've just chamfered this corner and made it probably break the polygon. And that is another object chamfered. Well, another part of the object chamfered, so I say. Another thing you can do with this is you can select two of them, and I want to have a line going between them. And to do that, you'd hit connect, and that makes a line between it. This means that you can edit it with a bit more detail, because now I can pull out the middle of this shape and it becomes much more accessible. Another thing I can do is, like, I can see I'm going to go into vert form right now. I want to have a line going from here to here, because at the moment the mesh is a bit, well, deformed, so I want to have a line in it. So I would go down, I would find cut, select this point and that point. You can see it snaps a little, and now I have an edge going from there, from that vertice to that vertice. I can do that again, bring it down to here. This is just good practice so that you can have nice looking nice looking flow of the mesh. It's also good for getting rid of such things as n-gons, which are where a polygon has more than 5 sides. But I'll talk about that a bit later on. If I change my selection type again, I can go to polygon. Now this gives me a few other tricks I can do. So if I select this point and I go down to the edit poly part, it gives me extrude, bevel, bridge, and all of these tools. I'm going to hit extrude. This causes this part of the polygon to be pulled out from the object, and 4 new polygon sides to be created, or if it was on a triangle, 3 new sides. Now what you can do with this is you can extend the length of it, and you can hit tick, or if you were in a different form and it was a side angle one, you can extend if it was going upwards or across. And this means that you can have much more, you can edit it in a much different way. So if I would want to make, let's say this looks slightly like a head, I don't know why it looks like a head to me, but hey-o, I could do that. And then I could go back into edit and chamfer these by looping, or not if the case may be. And then I can chamfer these. Weirdest looking face on the planet here. Be careful when you're doing it not to unselect the objects, because it can get a little annoying trying to find them again. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it informative.